He's the aforementioned John Hamm, who joins us on the program. John, how are you this morning?
Daniel, how are you, sir?
I'm spectacular. Where are you today?
I am in sunny Los Angeles.
Oh, the sun is out today as opposed to the last month?
Yeah, they finally figured it out. They had broken for like a week, and they finally figured it out. They're like, "Oh right, turn the sun back on." Oops.
What happens? What do you hear on the street when you're walking around? Let's say you're in New York. What is the common question or comment that you get?
Stop yelling at me about my taxes.
I like those commercials.
No, I actually do too. I was very pleased with how they came out. That's obviously only a very recent one. Mostly people, it depends upon what the season is. If it's baseball season, somebody will usually say something terrible about the Cardinals to me. So that's usually what I get.
Do you get Mad Men comments? And if you do, what kind?
Yes, I do, and mostly very, very pleasant. People liked that show, so I was happy that they did because that made me have a job for almost a decade.
What did you drink on that show?
Water with food coloring, usually. And meaning sometimes it was tea. It depended on who the prop guy was that week. Usually we had one prop guy who was like kind of like a mad scientist. He had a very specific kind of, it's got to be 3 drops of this and 1 drop of that to make it the perfect color. And the old fashioned had to have the fake cherry and this. I mean, this one guy was very particular, which I actually appreciated. It's always nice to see somebody that digs their job.
Do you keep those suits?
I didn't keep any of those suits because, first of all, there's a good reason that we live in the 2010s, and a big part of that is light fabrics. They were made of like 2-inch thick wool because they were all vintage. They were all pulled from like real vintage. And it was funny because I would see sometimes they're pulled from this huge costume shop up in Burbank called Western Costume that basically has all of the costumes from Hollywood from forever. So every now and again, you'd look in a suit pocket, and it would say like Burt Lancaster or something in there.
Oh,
and you'd be like,
wow.
whoa. Yeah, it was kind of neat.
John's part of the NHL 100 primetime TV special that'll be Friday on NBC's carrying the All-Star game. Now, I know you're a Cardinal fan. How big a hockey fan are you?
I'm a massive hockey fan. I mean, it's interesting. The Blues have been I'm from St. Louis, if it wasn't painfully obvious already. The Blues are, it's their 50th anniversary of being a franchise, and I'm 45 years old. I'll be 46 this year. So I've been around almost as long as the Blues have, and we've had some tantalizingly close brushes with almost greatness for a few of my formative years. So I've been a Blues fan for a long time. I've been a hockey fan for a long time. I never really played because I never really could skate. I mean, I could skate a little bit, but that's not good enough. But I've just been a massive fan of the game. I think it's I love the it's got everything that a cool sport should have. It's got the passionate fan base. It's wildly fast and furious, and it's in the way that it's played, and it's got this kind of specific arcane kind of weirdness to it too. So I love it.
How do you think they got Paul Newman to play the lead role in Slapshot? When you think about how big Paul Newman was.
Well, first of all, can you imagine reading that script? I mean, that script was hilarious. And Paul Newman was a hockey fan. He's a Connecticut guy. Yeah. Like he probably played like prep school hockey or something. I don't know, but like he wanted to do it. I guarantee you that. It's the bigger question is how did they get a studio to make that movie? Because that is a very specific fan base. But I'm glad they did because that's a classic.
I'm looking at your first acting job. Do you remember your first acting job here?
Are you looking according to IMDb?
Yes. Now, here's how it's credited,
I
John.
wouldn't have any idea what they would put the first one on as.
All right,
what does it say?
Ally McBeal. It says, gorgeous guy at bar, compromising positions, 1997, uncredited gorgeous guy at bar.
Well, apparently I was credited if it's written down on the internet.
Do you remember getting paid for that?
I do, actually, because when I first got to L.A., I was an extra 3 times. I was an extra in a commercial, in a movie, and in a TV show. And on the TV show, that they pulled me out of line, and they were like, "Hey, come here, the director wants to see you." And I was like, "Oh, wow, this is it. It's happening." So the guy goes, "Hey, we just got to cut to a guy at the bar. We have to ask you if we can hold the camera on you for more than a second. That makes you more than an extra, makes you a featured extra. And would you be okay with that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I have no idea what's going on. And that was what that was. But
nice.
Yeah, I was very pleased to get the extra $75 that it meant.
Clear this up. Was there a run-in with Bill Murray after Game 5 of the World Series?
Is this story starting to get traction?
Yes, it is.
Yes, there was, in the best possible way, because the Cubs had won Game 5. I had been there in Chicago for 3 and 4 and 5. And as you may know, Mr. Buck is a friend of mine, and he was calling all of the games for the big network. And I got to go. He said, "Come meet us over at the place next to the stadium." And I was there by myself. I was watching the game by myself, so I said, "Okay, I will." And I met him over there, and the usual suspects are there, and the Murray boys and girls. The whole Murray family was there.
Uh-oh.
And Billy grabbed my hat and threw it over the wall into the alley. And so I had to go through a door and pick up my hat out of the alleyway and put it back on and walk back into the party. It was very funny.
All right, here's my question for you. And I've been sitting on this one, and I'm not really sure what your answer is going to be. So you could have an Academy Award, or you can get rid of the Cubs winning the World Series.
Oh, I'm not that. I'm not that kind of sports fan in the sense of I don't really hate other teams. I'm a passionate believer in my team. I can't muster it up to hate another team. I was like most of America, glued to the edge of my seat on Game 7 of that World Series. I thought it was one of the best Game 7s of any sport that I've ever seen that has a Game 7. And I was thrilled when they won. You know, I mean, look, I want every fan base to have, and maybe this sounds like kind of gloating because I've seen my team win it a few times in my lifetime, but I wish every fan base could win it at least once because it feels so good, you know. And especially in baseball, you talk about a 162 game season and how long a run that is, and how capricious and weird the luck can be in the postseason. And all those things have to break the right way, and you have to maintain focus for so long. Like, it's just, I don't root bad. I don't root bad for anybody. I just and by the way, yes, I would much rather have an Academy Award for myself.
Okay, all right.
Let me make that perfectly clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way more selfish than me being gracious.
Is there a hockey guy that you haven't met that you hope to meet?
That's a good question. I haven't met a lot of them. I have met some of the big ones. Wayne Gretzky's wife, Janet, actually grew up one kind of town next to me in St. Louis. She's from a very interesting little township called, and I'm not kidding, Cool Valley. So I was in Belle Reve Acres and she was in Cool Valley, and we didn't know each other growing up, but we've met since then on several occasions, and Wayne has always been incredibly nice, as has Janet, and I mean, I've known him for almost 15 years. I played in a golf tournament with him a long time ago, and watched his kids grow up. It's unbelievable. So I met him a few times, and I know Brett Hull a little bit from St. Louis, and Shanahan as well. I've known him through the years. I got to hang out with him at the Olympics in 2010. So I know a lot of the guys, and I'm looking forward to meeting them. But mostly, I'm looking forward to participating in this and helping them celebrate, because it really is a cool achievement to be around this long. And I like how the NHL does its business for the most part. It's a very well-run organization, and it's kind of a weird time for sports leagues these days, and there's not a lot of love out there for them, and in many cases that's very well earned. And having been the beneficiary of an NFL franchise leaving my home city twice, there's not a lot of love for certain the way certain people run their business. But the NHL, I've always thought has some kind of a different, more sort of stable and approachable way of doing it. And I don't know, I love it. Every time I send anybody that I've ever sent to a hockey game, a professional hockey game, has come out of it with a giant smile on their face. Like, that was the coolest thing I've ever done. Especially British people. They find it fascinating for some reason.
Have fun on Friday night. We hope to get you in studio one of these days. And good luck, and thanks for joining us as always, John.
My pleasure, Dan. Thanks very much.
All right, John Hamm.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.